Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to cover the prep2grow weekly subscription recommendations. So these are all the two stocks or two options or two options and stock subscription plans. So we're just going to go through all the features and everything related to that, just so everybody knows what they get and how to use it. And if there's any questions, you could of course always reach out to us, but just a broad overview. So the first thing you see as you start to log in is that you'll see alerts. So in here, you'll see new features that were released, upcoming features, or if there's a known issue, an outage, or we're having some issues with a recommendation or a data feed, like a news feed or something like that, we'll post it here. And so this is where you'll find any issues that we have. The other is that we recommend everybody goes to a how-to webinar. So it's a 30-minute webinar that happens every 2 weeks, every Thursday for 30 minutes. And it just walks you through how we come up with our recommendations, what our strategy is, and opens to Q&A. So if you just click on it, it'll take you straight into the webinar and sign up. Just need your name and email. And then you can go ahead into the webinar. So let's go ahead and log in. So now that you logged in, you'll see your recommendations. And so we've had a couple of new features come out where your plans may get more. So the two options, two stocks will see more recommendations, and anybody on an annual plan, with the exception of two stocks, will also see these new features. The main feature is that you'll see all of our FANG Plus kind of momentum recommendations. So these are the ones that may move during a day or pre-market, and you can go in, take a look, and see if you want to do any momentum volatility plays. If you're a day trader, want to just get a quick couple percent returns on it, then you go ahead and use that. We'll go through this in more detail on how that all works. Or you will always see the prep2grow recommendations up front. So you know the difference when you see prep2grow strategy, it's in green. These are our recommendations that fit our strategy and our stringent guidelines around it. And so you'll have 4 as a 2 option 2 stock weekly subscriber. And let's just jump into that. Let's take a step back. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you come into this, which happens by default, is to make sure you fill out your preferences. So preferences are critically important to the trades and recommendations that you get. So if you want to receive alerts via text, enter in your information here. That'll send you the text alerts. If you don't put this in here, you want to receive any text alerts, put in your trading platform. Trading platforms are important from the standpoint of we provide learning at every single page to help you learn how to place our trades and recommendations on your platform of choice. How many trades per week you want. This is more important for the active traders. What's your trade duration? So trade duration is important from an option standpoint. So if you want a longer duration or more safer options, then we'll give you everyone that's between 2 and 6 months with an expiration date. Longer ones will provide the same. If you only want short options, then you put 0 to 30, and that'll give you all of our short option recommendations or ones with short expiration dates. Risk level. So if you only want to see mild, you'll see mild. If you want to see moderate, you'll see moderate. Again, this applies to a lot of the active traders, but if you put a moderate one in here, we'll show a moderate to an elevated risk for stocks. And then your cost trade, how much do you want to spend per trade? This will impact it. So if you want cheaper trades, put it down to $250, and then we'll provide options and stocks that are less than that. If you have a wide range, they go up to 2,000. Just note, this will limit the recommendations you see. And so if it's very stringent in your cost, you may not see any for the day. So if you only want to see, between 55 and $100, if we don't have any recommendations for that day between 55 and $100, you won't see them. So just note that you need to be a little more wider to get recommendations on it, not as explicit as 55 to, $100 or something of that nature. So once I hit save, it'll refresh my options or my recommendations. I still have 4. You'll always get 4 if you change your preferences. And now let's just jump into let's just jump into a recommendation. So I'm going to jump in VMware, and so this is an option. So when you come in here, you'll see the date it was recommended. So this was recommended to me on February 12th. It's active. This gives you a recommendation or an overview of VMware, what they do, and some background on them. This will flag if they're part of any ETFs. So VMware, surprisingly, is not a part of any ETF. This will talk about what their forecasts are, their earnings dates coming up on February 25th. We recommend you don't play earnings. We're actually changing our rules so that we don't recommend any trades, or we should say, we won't say any trade fits the prep2grow strategy is if it's within 7 days of an earnings date. Now we recommend that, but we're going to put it as a hard rule going forward. Underneath that, you'll see how many people like this, how many bought this, how many like this. So that gives you a sense of popularity. Does this a prep2grow strategy? Is it a mild risk? This gives us our forecast on the stock side. So it just says, what's the current price, what's it going to go down to, and what's the change. Just note, we're going to change this for options and show what the options predictions are. So what is the current option price, predicted option price, and the differences between the two. That'll be coming in March. And then underneath that is the success rate. So that's important to understand how successful this has been for our algorithm. So this is historically when we make a recommendation for VMware to hit its price within 5 days. This is our success rate. And also, if you hover over it, it should give you a definition of it. And this one is for 30 days. And so this is our success rate in 30 days. So for our option strategy, we only recommend recommendations, sounds redundant, but we only recommend recommendations that have at least 90% 5-day success rate and a 95% 30 success rate. And so if it doesn't have these two, we won't recommend it. So that really narrows the amount of recommendations we give. But if it's anything less than these two, what we have found that actually drops the success rate quite significantly, anywhere 5 to 7%. It'll drop, so it's more successful to have this combination of two. Underneath that is just days to sell. So historically, how long has it taken? This is a 30 days, so this is on the 12th, so it started on the 12th. The average time for it to sell is on the 26th, and the worst case for time to sell was the 12th of March. So start to worry if it gets past the 12th and hasn't sold yet, then it could be an issue. Also note that if you're going to buy an option, that you should really look at this timings in relationship to the expiration date. So if the worst case is the 12th and the contract expiration date is the 19th of March, at least 7 days, worst case. So just factor that into your equation. It becomes more risky the longer it takes for this option to sell or historically to sell, and the closeness to expiration date. Again, worst case is worst case that we've seen. If it was going to sell beyond this date, it means it never sold. So you should assume that worst case, if it goes beyond the 12th, you should get out. We've also will flag you that if it's dropped before the expiration date, we'll change the status to a sell at loss if it hasn't sold yet. We are releasing sell at loss alerts at the beginning of March. We didn't put that in originally to the product itself with it just releasing in December, but now we're going to put it in based upon requests from subscribers. So underneath that is all the buy details that you need. So everything you need to know to place an order contract. So what's the equity type? So it's a put, what's the symbol, what's the contract name, so on and so forth. We say this is what the current option price is, and this is updated in real time. All these things are updated in real time, so it adjusts throughout the day. And this is what our targeted sell price. So when it hits this date, then it'll sell. Something that's coming out next month is that you'll be able to actually tie into your broker and actually pass along all this details into your broker to execute the trade So you don't have to copy paste or look at both at the same time. It'll just pass everything in and you can execute that trade. Just note we're going to support just E-Trade and Ameritrade at first and then expand out to other stock platforms. But again, just note that that feature is coming. The other thing is we look at some of the pre-market volume and moving average for the technicals. Just a note, if you buy into or want to buy into an option, so this had a good morning, it went down quite a bit before the market. Just note that you want to look at this before you buy into it. Our strategy is to not buy or place any buy orders before market opens, and we don't place any orders within 15 minutes of market open. We always wait till the market kind of calms down. The other thing is we look at what the price change is. And so if it looks like it has some pre-market upward momentum, then we'll buy into it. But if it looks like it has some downward momentum and this is negative, we will not buy into it. So you should always look at this before you decide to buy. So up is good, green is good, red is bad. So if it's green, think about buying into it. If it's red, don't buy into it. The other thing is we look at option volume. And so when we recommend an expiration in stock price, we look at this heavily before we make a recommendation. We actually scan every single option chain, every single expiration date, and every single strike price within those expiration dates to find the ones that have the best movement in relationship to stock price. And usually it has higher volume and open interest because those two just, that and stock price move in sync. So just note that when we recommend it, it should have enough volume where you can buy in and out pretty easily. Technicals, moving averages. So these are folks that like to look at some of the technicals, just where the stock price in relationship to their 20-day, 5-day, and 200-day. The other is, this is where we just have a graph with all the stocks so you can see everything related to it. Essentially has everything you want it to do. It has the 5 days of timings, the bar charts, the candles, everything you kind of want in terms of doing some analysis with the graph on the stock. The other is that we have news. So what's happening with this company, so you can see if there's any momentum around it. And the other thing around that we have down below is just learning. So how do I buy? In this case, I'm on Robinhood, so it'll walk me through how to buy an option on Robinhood or how to sell an option on Robinhood. So if I'm uncertain, I'll just click on this. This will pop me out into the step-by-step guide for Robinhood. It's very detailed, step-by-step, and it has all the definitions and calculations that you'll need to worry about as you go through this, right? And then we have a video on it as well. So if you have questions on how to buy, this is a great place to go. So this is what an option is and how everything around that. The next is another option. I won't go into this, we just covered that. Again, this is Visa. This is an example of them being part of an ETF. We're also going to bring in mutual funds, so we'll see what mutual funds these stocks and options are a part of. The other thing around this is green for the morning, so good indicator to buy into it. But again, always look at those indicators. This is a stock. A little bit different on the stock side. In the sense of they're always going to be positive. We never look at shorting a stock. We recommended those originally, but it caused a lot of confusion with our customer base, so we don't recommend short stocks anymore. It's all gain. This case, same details, slight differences, or things to call out is, I forgot to call out the sector that it's in, so you can see the sector that this company's in. Bristol Myers Squibb is obviously part of healthcare. And the only thing that you're going to see as part of this is just the buy details. And you'll see the technicals. There's not a lot to worry about in terms of pre-market movement or within the moving averages. But this is really what the meat of it is, right? The big difference is just what the buy details are. The other thing is for stocks themselves. We always say the target of 5%. But the target's always updated. So with this one, it had 4.7% gain based upon this, closed stock price. So just note that you should look for 5% or have expectations that if it hits to 64 or close to the predicted stock price, you probably want to get out and exit. For stock, for options, a lot different in terms of that. And our target for options are always 15% gain. The other thing is that we'll have a success rate less than 90% for both the 5-day and 30-day. We'll go down to 85%, and I'll show that in a second. Our stocks are highly accurate. If you're just an option player, look at the stocks. You can't pass up just a straight 5% gain for our stocks. Also, there's no time decay. So we're I wouldn't say way, but we're more accurate with stocks. Our option success rate is, if we look at stocks and options, we're at 93%. If we just look at stock success rate, we're 98, 99% accurate every time we recommend one as part of our strategy. But we recommend less stocks. So don't sleep on the stocks. Look at the stocks. This is just an example of Anthem that has a less than a 30-day success rate. So just be aware that for stocks, it'll be less. So that's the meat of the prep2grow recommendations. So let's talk about the FANG plus momentums. So what you see here is there's a drop down. And so the drop down gives you everything that you also have access to. So movers, liked, and bought. So let's talk about movers, and then we'll get into liked and bought. So movers is essentially who's moving pre-market or within intraday. And it's really centered around FANGs and also your current recommendations. And so if you want to play momentum, you look at pre-market, you'll see who's moving. Pre-market, a lot of puts happening because the market was down today. You've got Apple was down pre-market, Tesla was down pre-market, Intel was down pre-market. And so if you want to get in and catch some of the downward momentum as a momentum player or swing trader, get in a couple percentage points and get out. This is a good place to do it, and we'll list it out for you. So we do pre-market movement, we do volume and option movement. So who's got the most volume and option, and not a lot of volume and option across these. But we'll list 50 of the movers that are in here, or a max of 50 per page. But as a FANG Plus movers, you'll probably only see upwards of 15 to 30 at any given time as part of your subscription package. So let's get into the other ones. Liked. So if you, I doubt I have any liked in here, but let's go back to movers and add a like in here. So let's add a like for these guys. Bristol Myers. So if you like it, it just means you're saving it. You haven't said you're going to buy it. Just you like it, you're saving it on a list. But if you go into bot and you select a bot, if you click on a buy, this icon, this will turn on all the notifications. So email and text, sell alerts. So if you click on this, you'll get the alerts. If you do not click on this, you will not get any alert for your recommendations. The other thing to note, that recommendations expire in 7 days. So if you want to save it, in perpetuity, you've got to click like or the dollar icon, and then you'll always save it. If you don't do that, they're going to go away the next time you get your set of recommendations. For the active traders, you have 14 days until they expire, so you have a longer history. But for all other subscriptions, it's 7 days. So if you want to keep them, you want to keep on tracking them, hit the dollar icon or the bot symbol here, or the thumbs. Other thing to note is that you can switch to a table or a card view at any given time. Also, on the main pages, you have tutorials. So this will walk you through just the generalities of how to trade overall in Robinhood. So if you click on this, it's the entire learnings of Robinhood. So everything to do to buy, sell, trade on Robinhood. So it's an extensive just learning program for Robinhood. If you go into one of these, you'll have a slightly different version just based on where you are. So how to buy an option as an example. So if we go back to this, the other thing to note is that for your plan, you don't have access to our screenings and filters. So this is for active traders. If you're interested in that, look at our active subscription overview. A lot of time spent on this. This allows you to sort through, as an active trader, upwards of 1,200 recommendations at a time. And active traders will either use our strategy or will use their own strategy. So day traders, momentum traders, may have their own strategy. and they use that for this. So this will filter everything out and screen it for them based upon ETF, sector, price to earnings, earnings per share, revenue, yada yada, next earnings date, that kind of stuff. The other thing is that all subscription plans have access to download. And so if you click on this, it'll download an Excel. And then if you bring it up, you'll just be able to see the Excel. So when you bring up the Excel, you'll get a slightly cut down version of what's in the summary or the recommendations pages. You'll get the major buy details, essentially. You know, who's the company, the symbol, is it a prep to grow strategy or not, the day of trading or when you downloaded it, essentially, the risk level, so on and so forth. So this will give you all the meat that you need to have to place a trade or to track it. We only allow the download of 25 recommendation at any given time, so it shouldn't be a problem for the plan that you're on. So in a nutshell, as somebody that's part of the weekly subscription plans, 2 stocks, 2 options, or 2 stocks and 2 options, this is in essence what you've gotten. Also, if you're a free subscriber, you essentially have the same access. You just get 1 stock and 1 option on a monthly basis instead of a weekly basis, but you still have all the same feature functionality. Hope this helps. This is an overview of the Prep to Grow subscription plan for, again, 2 stocks, 2 options, or 2 options, 2 stocks. Any questions, always reach out to us and via our email, contact@prep2grow, or you can hit us up on the chat bot. A lot of details in here, and you can contact us via the chat bot as well. So thank you for your time, and hope you have a great day and happy trading. Take care.